morning. It's really nice to see you here. Well, it's not like I can really see you. It's dark here, but anyways. So, hope you're all pumped from all the announcement earlier this morning at the keynote. And I'm hoping you're going to build your app using actions, because this is what I'm going to talk about today. And also, I'm going to talk about some design best practices as well. So my name is Tomomi. Again, I'm Tomomi Imura, and I'm a developer advocate at Slack. And I'm based out here in San Francisco. Oh, yeah, and feel free to tweet out. The hashtag is Spec by Slack, all right? OK. So when you're interacting with a message, let's say when you see some interesting message or important message, like when your coworkers posting message about like peanut butter and pickle sandwich recipe article. You want to do something. Maybe you might want to just start it so you can read it later, or maybe you might want to share this message with your coworkers or somebody else too. So for now, like since now, what you have been doing, or what you could do with message, it's like add in reaction emoji, maybe some drooling emoji face, or reply in the thread. It could be share the message with a particular person on a channel. And start the message so you can read it later, or copy the message link. Maybe you want to manually copy, paste, and send it to somebody. And you can mark unread, and remind, and it's so important, so you want to pin to the channel. And now, yes, you can use actions. So it's a custom actions. It's like kind of like intents, right? You can go to like third-party apps, or maybe you can do so many other things within the Slack using the other third-party applications. And it's great because for users' perspective, users can do more things, can interact more things within a Slack. At the same time, it works as app discovery. Let's say you have users you never have seen, or never have heard of, never used your app before, but now they know it's there. So it's a great opportunity for you, the developers, to get more users. So yeah, so you can add your app here now. So let's build that, So earlier, Brian's mentioning about like actions. We got strategic partners, created app already, but I'm going to show you some more use cases to give you some ideas of what you can do with your app. Let's say you have like issue tracking app, like bug tracking app. You want to have action, something like create a ticket from the message. Or could be some sort of to-do app. Doesn't have to be to-do app, but some sort of the app that you want to have something, creating a list. So add to the to-do list. And project management app, like attached to task. And let's say if you have social media, so maybe you want to encourage your user to share some message on your social media app, right? So post it to your app, share it on whatever. You can do that. So that's what like Bitbucket has done. So it's kind of cool, because you can add a context to the pull request. It's pretty awesome for engineers. Yeah, yay, open PR. Also Asana. That's a project management tool. You can create tasks straight from the message. And it pops up in the dialog, which I'm going to talk about soon, too. So yeah, why don't you, add action to your app? So let's get started. I'm going to show you how here. So here I have this fictional app called Cliplt for Slack. Assume you have an app called Cliplt already. Maybe it's a web app, maybe a mobile app. You have some whole app somewhere and have, DB in your app services all right there. And this is an app for Slack, so let's call it Cliplt for Slack, right? So how it works is first user choose a clip the message from the menu, action menu, and then dialog box pops open. So your user can maybe edit before submitting. And the user submit a dialog form, and this Cliplt Slack export a message to the Cliplt system DB. And then maybe you will sync with your Cliplt app. And finally, Cliplt for Slack send a DM to the user to confirm it's done. So this is kind of like a note-taking app, or just copy-pasting message and store it somewhere, the sort of app. So let's see. So I created this GIF animation. By the way, I call it GIF, so don't argue with me. It's GIF animation for me. And yeah. So yeah, you get a DM. By the way, it's raccoon. Raccoons are like the new cats, right? It's like trash bandits everywhere on the internet these days. I love it. It's cute. And they're not rabbit, at least in San Francisco, so don't worry about that. All right. Or maybe I should explain a little bit better. So yes, again, the same thing. Okay, user choose a clip, the message from the app, or maybe it's animations go, but anyways. And yes, the dialog pops open, so user can edit, and they can send it, and once everything's done, you get DM. So that was the flow. Oh, now it's working. Okay. Well, let's watch that. Then dialog. And there's some more options here. You can just add importance, like priority and such. And I get DM. So to implement actions to your app, first, I'm going to just show you with a screenshot instead of doing like live demo, because I'm not good at it. It's actually easier to show on a screenshot anyways. So first, you need to create an app. But I call it like a Workspace app. Well, since we just announced Workspace app, so why not? So basically, the difference is, now app is actually, let's say, like belong to the Workspace, instead of like the person who's installing, and it has progressive permission models and such. But anyway, so when you go to api.slack.com, you should be able to create an app with UI buttons. You don't have to really manually go to this URL. But anyways, go this place and create an app. And the first thing you need to do is give it, just fill out the app name. Then you need to select the workspace that you're working on. It could be like your dev test workspace instead of some production or whatever. You can just choose a workspace that you want to work on, then create. Then next thing is yes, maybe you're already familiar, once you already have done this before, but anyways. So just get app credentials. Just the typical API credentials here. So you get client ID and client secret, and it has some of the tokens, verification tokens too. So you might want to store it in like .env or config or whatever that file you have, for your credentials. And then just give the app name, descriptions, and icon. So next thing, so this is where you set actions. So go to features and choose interactive components. So if you already have done something with interactive components, such as buttons and menus, this is where you go. We use in the same place. And now we added actions, so you should be able to edit or add your actions there. And then you need to request URL here too. So this is where you receive the payload from Slack when action's happening. So it's basically your app server slash like route path. In this case, like slash actions. It's like whatever that is you're using. It's up to you. And for this case, and for development, maybe dev server. Maybe when you push into production, you might want to switch this later. And I'm using glitch.com for testing and development because it's just convenient. It's a web-based IDE that you can host and run my Node.js app. So I'm just using this for now. And I actually do have an actual code sample hosted there, so I'll show you the URL later. And now you go to the OAuth and permission, and you get another token here, the OAuth token. And then you might want to store that in .env or config file somewhere. And now you see this token, begins with XOXA. So that's a new type of token, the Workspace token we've been talking about. And previously, Like again, if you were already familiar with, you had a token like XOXP, XOXB, but now we got new stuff. And you scroll down the page, and you're going to choose scopes that you need. So this is actually important here. Many times when something's going on, like your app's not working correctly, many times the reason is the scopes. You haven't, used the right scopes, or maybe you didn't have enough scopes to access certain method like APIs. So for actions, you need commands. And for those who have done with the slash commands, this was actually the scope you used previously for the slash command. And we're using that for scopes too. The action scope, actions too. Because we didn't want to just add too much complexity by introducing too many different things. So just use commands. And for this particular example app, like Cliplt, I have extra scopes here. So that's really up to you, what your app wants to do with actions. So again, what you need for actions is a command scope. And additionally, if you're doing something like getting user info, in this case, I'm only getting the user's full name from the user ID. So I'm using the method called users.info. So that requires this user's read scope. And another one, the chat write scope, is for sending messages. So my app does send a DM in the end, so I need this scope. Like again, this is up to you, like what you want to do with your app. So now I'd like to show you some sequence here. So let's say you have user and your Cliplt app and Slack, like API, and you have a Cliplt app service. So first, a user executes an action. That means, of course, hover the message and click the menu pill and choose your action, like Cliplt action, like clip the message action. And that sends to Slack. And the Slack sends you a payload to the request URL, which you have specified earlier in a config page. And now using dialogues.open method to open some dialog pops open the dialog box, and the Slack sends a dialog box, so user get a chance to edit. And the user submit the dialog, and now Slack sends another payload for the dialog submission. Then your app might be communicating with your app service there, and maybe exporting, saving a DB and such. And when everything's done successfully, now you want to notify the user by just sending a DM. So this is a basic flow. Well, in reality, of course, it's more complicated in your app service side for DB and everything, but at least for the Slack side, this is pretty much the flow here. So again, a user trigger, initiated the action, so that's when it happens. And the payload is sent to this request URL here. And this is a typical payload looks like. So you get a piece of data like JSON here, and you get some information about time and all that other stuff. And what you need to know here is, of course, like callback IDs, imagine what you have set in a config, and here's a type with a message underscore action. So this is how you know this payload is coming from when a user is executing some sort of actions. Because you do receive other kind of payloads too, such as when a user submit the dialog box. And below that, it has a message. So now you know the user is just the user ID here. You don't know the name. So if you want to know the name of the person who originally posted a message, you might want to call another method, another API to get the name of that person. That's extra work here. And you need a text. It's actual message text here. And TS is timestamp. So I'm using a Node.js and Express.js for this example. I'm just making, this is really oversimplified code, so it's obvious it's not everything, but hopefully you get some idea here. So first thing you're doing, so you get an app that posts, it's like HTTP post here, and you get payload here. So you got to parse the payload and get some information that you need. Then when the type is actually the token is coming from, so it's in that data is coming from Slack, it's not from elsewhere, and the type is message action, where you want to do something. In this case, you want to send pop-up dialog. So use the dialog.open method to open the send a message. And this is how it looks like when a dialog opens. So I'm actually taking the text from the message pre-populate into the dialog, but letting the user to edit or add something. And some extra field here posted by the person who originally posted a message, and with some importance or priority or any other information that you want. And submit. Once dialog is submitted, you will receive another payload. But at that time, our type is a dialog underscore submission, so you should know this was coming from dialog, not from the actions. So here, while you're doing all the business there, like exporting a message to your app services or whatsoever, and then when everything's cool, we'll send a message back to the user. So using chat, the post message method to DM. Or it could be, doesn't have to be always DM, it could be just posting a public message, ephemeral, anything. But it's always a good idea to send some sort of confirmation afterwards. So this was like, yeah, again, how the app looks like. And get DM. All right. So the code samples of this demo, like Cliplt for Slack app, is here. And I just pushed this documentation here at api.slack.com, and this is a part of something called blueprints. And we have a lot of code samples with common use cases there. So you want to check that out if you haven't. And I have a code hosted on glitch.com and also at the github.com. So the next section is about designing. So maybe many of you here are the engineers, so I'm like, I'm not a designer, I don't care. No, well, you should care. And ideally, like you should be working with your designer. I mean, design doesn't mean just visual design, right? Not like just creating icons and UI and such. User interaction designer, like UX designer. Or many times you might be doing a side project, you're working alone, so you still should know the good design practices. So, of course, like again, you have an awesome app, but you have really awful UX. Well, that sucks because you're definitely losing your users, right? Maybe the number of installation might be quite high, but retention will be low when the UX sucks. So the design tips here is first, give your action a short and descriptive name. So it's important using the verb, like, for example, create a task, instead of just saying task. That makes more sense. And use a sentence case. File a bug, it's not title case, no capital A, B. This is more like just keep the good consistency throughout the app. So we use sentence case, so it's better be the same. And you might want to use an ellipsis. And that indicates maybe some more actions going on. Add as comment, dot, 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 then the user expects there's more stuff going on. And then use a dialogue. That's something I just used an example of Cliplt, And I use a dialogue or interactive UI elements like buttons, menus, and other elements. Why not? Sometimes you might think just giving extra steps that user have to work might be bad. The less steps better. It's not always true. Sometimes more is better. I mean, when you give a chance to users to do something like edit or fix, whatever. So I actually recommend you use some other components as well. But obviously, it's up to you. I mean, up to the type of app you're working on. Sometimes it might not be necessary. So. And yes, always close loop. So what it means by that is, okay, you have awesome app, and the user have done something, user click the action items, and that's everything's done quick. But what? You can't just ditch your user right there. You gotta send a user some sort of notification or message that, tell the user that, operation's complete. Or maybe the error. Sometimes it fails. But, just users need to know. Otherwise, they're like, whoa, is that done? Is that app working? Is Slack down? Or something I shouldn't be joking about. Anyway, yeah, so to always close the loop. And finally, write for machine and build bots for human. Obviously, you might be writing bots, but you're writing bots for human. Your users are people, so write a great app that's usable. So the documentation about actions is here. We just deployed this morning. So it's at api.slack.com/actions. You can read all about that now. And thank you so much. And this was all. It goes shorter than I thought, but if you have questions, come grab me later. All right, thank you.